Hi, it's Tara Green, and I'm in my High Priestess mode. You can see that. That's where I'm wearing my High Priestess hat. I am a number 2 numerologically, and I wanted to talk about the Lion's Gate, the August the 8th Lion's Gate that's happening this year. Now, usually I don't really go into a big deal about this. I've had 2 people ask me if I'm going to do something on it. I was thinking about doing something about the Leo new moon because I really have been presenting these new moon and full moon workshops on Zoom since January. And I prefer the new moons myself because it has to do with going into the inner rather than the full moon on the outer. But the star Sirius, which is what the 8-8, the Lion's Gate, is all about, and I think it's been kind of contrived into this Lion's Gate, only has to do with the star Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky, and it's the one worshipped by the ancient Egyptians. It signified when it rose heliacically, which means with the sun, it signified the flooding of the Niles. It's actually a few days later. It's usually around August the 12th, and it is a one-day event, which then signifies the flooding of the Nile, right? I'm not sure where this came from, actually, and sort of people making a big deal out of this and then tying it into the day out of time, which has to do with the totally other system, which is the Mayan calendar, and that's July 26th, I believe, or the 28th. And then they make this big 2-week-long Lion's Gate portal. Okay, so technically, we are moving from, the thing I want to talk about is the significance also of the number 8. So the number 8 is the infinity symbol. So if you turn it 8 on its side, it creates an infinity symbol, which always starts, let's say this is noon, it always moves left and down and up and crosses over. And when I saw that starbird years ago, February 22nd, 1979, that was what it traced out. So to me, this is the big motif, the number 8. The number 8, of course, is sacred in China. It's considered, pagans also use the number 8 because it has to do with the turning of the 8 stations of the sun and the earth in the year. So we just had August the 1st, which is also called Lammas, which marks one of those what they call cross-quarter days in the northern and the southern hemisphere. We're halfway between the seasons. Okay, so the number 8 in the tarot, because I'm also tying in the symbols of the tarot, the number 8 in the tarot is justice, okay, or it's number 11. So number 8 or number 11 are interchangeable. Now I'm not going to go into the whys and the wherefores and the different systems of that. So in this deck that I use, this is called the Thoth Tarot. The number 8 is justice. So we're dealing with matters of justice, balance, Libra, equality, truth. Okay, and this is actually the ancient scales of Mott, where we weigh our souls against Mott's ostrich feather crown or diadem. So in the ancient Egyptian tradition, where they would remove your brains, your heart, your liver, what else would they remove? I'm not sure, I don't remember right now. But anyway, your heart would be weighed in the afterlife against Mott's ostrich feather. And if your heart was heavier than her feather, that means you hadn't resolved everything, you weren't clear yet, you had to go back to earth until your heart was as light as a feather. I thought that's one of the most beautiful stories I'd ever heard. So whether you consider it 8 or 11, that's where we're at right now, okay? So balance, how far out of balance are we in every way, okay? Where do we need to come back to balance? What do we need to bring ourselves into balance? And that is always the inner, not the outer, because everything works from the inner first. This is also the sign of Libra, of course, which represents consciousness, our mind. So our consciousness needs to be in balance, using the balance of the inner masculine and feminine. I know people are going to want to get into fights about gender, but let's get past that and just call them positive and negative. And negative is not bad. It's just the equal balance, complementary balance, okay? Day and night, yin yang, like that, okay? So that is the number 8, and we are in the 8th month, and it's going to be on the 8th day, okay? And the number 11, and again, in this deck I use the Crowley Tarot here, Thoth Tarot, is the symbol of strength. Now you can clearly see that this is Leo energy. Okay, and we are in the sign of Leo. The sun is in the sign of Leo. So in this deck, it's number 11. If it's the reverse in your deck, that's perfectly fine. And because, again, we're dealing with this powerful gateway, I think that these 2 cards are very significant and symbolic of what's really going on. So the whole key with the card of Leo, or strength in the tarot is that you control your unconscious animal instincts, that you control the animal brain, which is really all about fear. It's always fight or flight. So that's your adrenals, that's where you're on, if everybody's PTSD, which they are from thousands of years of patriarchy, colonization, whatever it is you want to talk about, and from being out of balance. There was that famous movie coincides, which is a Hopi word for, life out of balance. That's an old movie made in the 80s, sort of prophesying what's going on right now. So you need to get in touch with your animal instincts, but you cannot let them control you or ride you. And that includes, sexuality and greed and jealousy and all those lower unconscious anger, energies. Anger is good. It can be channeled in a positive way. You just don't want it to run you unconsciously. So in this deck, it's called Lust, and it has to do with your passion for life. It has to do with the heart. Leo rules the heart. It rules the will. It is the sign of the child. It has to do with playfulness. It has to do with drama. Life, we choose to be here in this life form because it's dramatic. It's like a big soap opera, but it's a pretty dire soap opera at this place. And so what I think has been coming clear to me through the people I've been speaking with the last few days and what's been coming through in my dreams, because 8 and 11 are interchangeable, and because we're on the 8-8, we got to remember the 11. Okay, now usually people talk about 11-11, and if you Google 11-11, for people who see 11-11 on the digital clocks or even 111, they'll go, oh, you make a wish, right? And so that's all very nice and light and can't go wrong with making wishes. But the original 11-11 was started by one woman named Solara, an American woman who started channeling this information. It's a book called The Starborn, and coincidentally I met my friends here, and that was the book that was sitting out. So she created this worldwide movement before there was the internet. I was part of that. It was January 11th, 1992, I believe. And there was people meeting in Niagara Falls, because that's a high energy point in Canada, and people were meeting in Sedona. People were meeting in Mount Shasta, in Stonehenge, in England, and at the pyramids. She was at the pyramids, and all over the world. Okay, I happened to be in Jupiter, Florida, with a good friend of mine, actually meditating in the morning and the evening. But we are at the 11th hour right now. Okay, and people really need to wake up right now. We can't be in this divisive, fighting with each other over all these little not really important things. Masked, not masked, vaxxed, not vaxxed, even to look at the bigger picture. What's going on here? Why are we here right now? So it is the 11th hour. There's no time for distraction. There is no time to fool around. Okay, there is no escaping. You have to look reality in the face. We are fighting. This is the big fight. It's like the most dramatic point in Star Wars. It is a fight between good and evil. Okay, it has to do with the AI. It has to do with the aliens out there. It has to do with the AI on the earth. Okay, we as human organic life forms are going to have to fight to keep our own life, our own ensouled beings alive. Okay, because we are under total onslaught from every direction. Okay, and you have to see that COVID is part of that. Okay, I don't even want to say the word. Name it. We've been programmed. This has been after us for years. When you look back, you realize how long the programming goes. I just made a friend of mine watch They Live, which is a John Carpenter movie made in '88. If you watch that movie, it's all very clear about what's going on. That was made a long time ago, and it was a simple kind of grade B popular movie. But you've got to be able to see through what's going on. My old teacher, Stuart Wilde, talked about this also way back in 2005. So we need to somehow get together. We are not just physical beings, and yet we are. We need to embrace our physicality. We don't want to escape. You do not want to ascend. That's an escape. That's a denial of what's going on. That's a la-di-da New Age. Unless you talk about ascension as being raising consciousness to being aware of what's really going on, of all that is. So we need to fight for being physical, human, organic life forms. We don't want to be turned into silicon AI. Anybody who wants to buy into that, you want to be a robot? No. And also it's women. Women really need to step into their power here, because women who have wombs, the womb is the cosmic the only organ on the planet, is the cosmic place where soul enters. When you conceive a child, it is because you bring a soul in from the higher dimensions into the physical plane. The womb is the only place that that can happen. So that is the source of all, the most physical, the most spiritual, the combination in the planet. Now, that is not the same as your physical womb, which is where around the physical womb, there's your own emotional karma. The womb itself is pure. It can never be defiled. It doesn't matter if you've been raped or abused or whatever kind of sexual issues you've been having, that never affects the purity of the womb. It is immaculate. When they talk about immaculate conception, that means untainted by karma, totally purified. Your personal karma is not part of it, okay? And if women realized right now the power that we all have within, we can align on the inner. We cannot, I mean, we can protest, we need to stand up, we need to fight for our rights, our human rights here. We need to be together telepathically. I mean, I remember laughing when they created the internet, when it became popular in the 90s, going, ah, ha, ha, they have to invent some physical thing to do this when we should all just be learning to be telepathic, which is our natural state. But we're so far removed from that generally, from being living in the cities and not being connected intuitionally. We have all the answers within. We know how to do this. I believe we can beat it. But we need to get really aware right now. You can't be distracted, not with the consumerism, the commercialism, not in the fear, okay? Men also have a spirit womb. We need the men to step up and support the women. We need that balance. The women need to have the inner balance, okay? So if you know what I'm talking about, I'm saying to wake up. So my Leo New Moon 8-8 message is about be discerning about what's real. You know, some people are giving you this spiritual BS, very commercialized. Some people are real. So you have to really go in there listening to your intuition, really connecting with your heart and your womb. It is the balance of the masculine and feminine. According to the Karo tradition, which is where this information originated, the heart is masculine. It is a pump. It's physical. And the womb is feminine. And so we all have that, okay? Again, men don't have a physical womb, but they have a spirit womb that they can connect with. And so that is the balance of the masculine and feminine. So I may do a longer, what this is all about. The star Sirius is about the myth of Isis and Osiris. So it really is about the goddess Isis. You know, her husband Osiris dies and she puts him back together, actually from his penis. She kind of clones him and puts him back together. So he comes back to life. So we do need the masculine energy, that, you know, focused, upright, masculine energy to balance us, right, as well. So that is a myth of also coming into balance, just like that 8-11 thing, right? It's all fitting together. So you have to be aware of the messages coming through synchronistically. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm at taratarot.com. You can follow me on my blog at infinitynow.wordpress. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok sometimes. I'm out in the country right now, so my internet is very slow. So hopefully you'll get to see this. I am going to do a very big, there's a blue moon, August on the full moon this month, blue moon at the last degree of Aquarius. I'm going to do one of my Zoom workshops, moon magic workshops, on the 22nd, the day before the actual full moon. So please join me for that. You can find information about that on my website at taratarot.com. So wishing you many blessings, and don't forget to roar from your heart and your soul. That is your power. Stand up and defend yourself, defend your family, stand up for what you know is right. Thank you. Blessings.